Good morning once again. Dorcas here on this Tuesday morning, continuing with our lesson 11. And today we'll be talking about ratifying the covenant. Yesterday we talked about the sinfulness of sin, and we're continuing with what was happening in the wilderness of Sinai, and the covenant that the people, God and the people had made, and how the people broke the covenant. And so today we're talking about ratifying the covenant. And we see that Moses, it says, after Moses read the law with all its conditions of curses and blessings, how did Israel persistently react? So we go to Exodus 24 verse 7, and you see that the Israelites were continuing to respond in the same way that they had responded before. And so they said, in 24:7 it says, and he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Lord hath said we will do, and be obedient. So that's the same promise they kept on repeating, that whenever God brought him anything, any commandment, the blessings and curses, telling them the conditions, they were like, oh, everything you say we're going to do, everything you're going to say. So that's what they continued saying. And here in the extended reading, we are told the minds of the people, blinded and debased by slavery, were not prepared to appreciate fully the far-reaching principles of God's 10 precepts. So they still had not changed their way of thinking. They had really not changed their slavery mindset to the point where they were able to recognize what God was doing in their lives. And so they thought, just saying what they were saying was okay. And so we see that eventually they were not even able to keep whatever it is that they had promised. And we see Moses heard the people, and so he had to take the response to God. And we see before that there was a way to show that the agreement was sealed, and it was through the blood. In question B, the question was, what was immediately done to show the seriousness of such an agreement? It was a very serious agreement. It wasn't just anything. And you see in Exodus 24:8, it says, and Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold the blood of the covenant which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. So he took the blood and he used blood. Why would he use blood? Because it was also a type of showing us about how the seriousness of the blood of Christ. And we know that Moses took blood and used it as an agreement. And so the shedding of blood, without no shedding of blood, there's no remission of sins. And so it was also used as a covenant, and that's what Moses did, and that's why he took it and he sprinkled on the people to seal the covenant between God and his people. So they had ratified their solemn pledge. They had given their pledge that they're going to do all that he had said and to be obedient. And so that's how Moses sealed that covenant. So they had received the conditions of the covenant. They made a solemn covenant with God, typifying the covenant made between God and every believer in Jesus Christ. The conditions were plainly laid before the people. They were not left to misunderstand them. When they were requested to decide whether they would agree to all the conditions given, they unanimously consented to obey every obligation. They had already consented to obey God's commandments. The principles of the law were now particularized, that they might know how much was involved in covenanting to obey the law, and they accepted the specifically defined particulars of the law. So they didn't think much about it. They just agreed to everything. And so that brings us to the study for Tuesday about ratifying the covenant, and we're seeing how people were easily able to make this decision. And it's also a lesson for us when we study the word and we are asked by God what to do and we make promises. We need to realize that those promises are serious. When we make a vow to God, it's a serious vow, and it's not something to be played about with. But often we are the ones who break these covenants or these vows or these agreements. And so the example of the Israelites and what they went through should teach us how critical it is to take these covenants seriously. So I hope you have a blessed Tuesday, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow to continue with the study for this week. Bye.